Hello everyone, this is Direwolf20 and welcome to a brand new mod spotlight on a mod that's been a long time coming. It's time to take a look at Equivalent Exchange 3. That's right guys, it's finally here and finally available. Now just a heads up, this is an early version of Equivalent Exchange 3 and it's got some basic functionality, but the most important thing to keep in mind is that there is a ton of massive levels of effort behind the scenes that are making this out to be a really cool mod with tons of potential. So I'm going to show you what's currently available in Equivalent Exchange 3. There's some items you can make and there's transmutation available. So you can use a transmutation tablet to convert items from one type to another. We're going to take a look at that in this spotlight. Now many things are not quite yet available, but keep in mind that a lot of what you're seeing in the spotlight today is going to allow for a massive amount of future growth. And it's going to come very quickly now because all the basics and the behind the scenes work has pretty much been completed. So now, luckily, it's time for some really cool stuff. So let's start taking a look at Equivalent Exchange 3. How do you get started? We're about to find out. So before we really get started in how to use the mod, what I want to show you and introduce you to is the dynamic EMC system that Pahimar has been working so hard on to get it just perfect so that everybody can use it for all the things. So let's talk about dynamic EMC. If you've played Equivalent Exchange or Equivalent Exchange 2, you'll remember the concept of EMC, or energy matter conversion. There's a couple different acronyms that kind of are possible to use with EMC, but it's basically the inherent energy stored in any item. And it gives a certain value or certain weight to the cost of an item. So for example, cobblestone's pretty common, and if we hold shift while mousing over any item, we'll see that cobblestone has an equivalent energy of 1. That means that cobblestone is worth 1 point of equivalent energy. Okay, diamonds on the other hand are a lot more rare, and therefore their equivalent energy is 8,192. What this means is that if you had 8,192 pieces of cobblestone, you could convert all the energy in those cobblestone pieces into 1 piece of diamond. Okay, now wood on the other hand has 32, and wood planks have 8. You'll notice that wood planks, you get 4 of these from a piece of wood, right? So 8 times 4 is 32. So there's inherent math in everything, right? You get to see the cost of a single piece of wood plank and the cost of a piece of oak wood, and you'll see that the oak wood is 4 times that amount. Now what's cool about the dynamic EMC system is there's a small handful of items that are hard-coded, right? Statically assigned, and that's something like diamond is worth 8,192 and cobblestone is worth 1. So a handful of things are statically assigned as such. However, you'll also find out that a lot of values can be calculated. And the way this is done is basically by checking out the crafting recipe. For example, pistons require 4 cobblestone, 1 iron, 1 redstone, and 3 of any type of wood plank. And you'll check that a piston has 316 energy exchange value. So what this means is it calculated 316 because it took 1 piece of iron, which is 256, plus 1 piece of redstone, which is 32, plus 3 pieces of oak wood plank, 8 each, plus 4 pieces of cobblestone at 1 each. You can go ahead and get out a calculator and do the math. I'll wait, but I promise you it's going to add up to 316. And that's the way all equivalent exchange values for any crafting recipe are handled. The other thing that's really cool is mod authors can add their own values. For example, Mine Martin, the author of Pneumaticraft, has already added EMC values to his seeds. So if you're using equivalent exchange, I haven't checked out what the seed values are, but if they're the same, you'd be able to exchange one type of seed for another in Pneumaticraft. So it's very easy for other mod authors to assign EMC values to their own items as they add them in. So things like copper and tin and ender liquids from thermal expansion. All these things, once the mod authors go ahead and add these EMC values to their mods, will easily be able to give EMC values and assign them to the base items, and then they'll automatically be calculated by looking at the crafting recipes of things. One other thing that's cool is that servers can assign their own EMC values. So this is a config file that you can go and modify yourself, and you can see that you can change the exchange of diamonds, or you can exchange cobblestone. You can change what they're worth. What's really neat is when you log into a server, it's going to dynamically assign all those values to your client. So you don't have to change your configs when you switch from one server to another. So for example, if you logged into server A and the cost of a diamond was halved, okay, you would see that it's worth, the 4000 value. And if you went ahead and logged into server B and it wasn't changed, it would be assigned the 8000 value. And you don't have to change the configs on your client, the server assigns those. So these are some very important concepts behind dynamic EMC, and that's what makes it so cool. Now this was a very complicated and difficult system to write, and that's what Pahimar has been working on this whole time. Now let's take a look at how we can use these EMC values to do a bunch of cool things. The first thing we're going to take a look is the calcinator. So let's see what we've got here. In equivalent exchange, one of the first things we're going to want to grab is a calcinator, and I'm going to grab a bunch of coal as well. The calcinator is cool because it allows you to break down items into their fundamental components by way of the energy value. So if you clicked on here, you'll see there's a nice NEI integration. Basically, anything with an energy value from 0 to 64 is going to wind up getting you some ash. Okay, anything from 64 to 2048 is going to get verdant ash. Cool, verdant dust. And anything from 2048 to 8192 is going to get you azure dust. And anything from 8192 all the way up to infinity, so anything higher than 8192 is going to get you minium dust. So these are the three different types of dusts available in addition to ash. Okay, now all you have to do is drop something in here. So remember that we said the iron ingot, right? So if you take a look, iron ingot falls between that 64 and 2048 range. It's 256. So it should break down into some of that green dust. Cool. And redstone falls into that ash range, 0 to 64. So you should wind up getting some of the regular old ash. Now keep in mind, and this is where you're going to want to keep track of things, you're only going to get one ash from this. And cobblestone has an equivalent exchange energy of 1. And that should also get you a piece of ash. So if you're looking to get the ash, you should try and use the lowest number as possible, right? So if you can find something that's worth 64 equivalent energy, that would be my best bet for going ahead and doing that, right? So go ahead and, calculate where you might be able to come up with some good values and try and find the lowest value of things. So that's the calcinator. That's going to break down items and get you some very pure alchemical stuff. It breaks it down into its alchemical essence. What can we do with that essence? Well, I'm glad you asked. We can go ahead and use a machine to go ahead and infuse that alchemical essence into things. And for that, you're going to need an aludel base and a bell. Now you'll find that these items are pretty low tech. The calcinator is pretty much your entry point into equivalent exchange, so it doesn't cost a lot. And the same for the aludel base. Really doesn't cost much. But these are your entry points into the mod. Boom. So now we've got an aludel. Now we do need to still provide energy, aka fuel, to power this process, and you'll notice here that there's a bunch of different things you can do. For example, you can get yourself some azure dust, but there's a bunch of other things available as well. This is how we make, for example, alchemical coal. You can go ahead and infuse coal with some verdant dust and get yourself alchemical coal. And this is stuff that works better in a furnace. Or you can just use one piece of azure dust instead of 32 pieces of verdant dust. Cool. And if you put 4 pieces of coal in there and 1 minium dust, you'll get 4 alchemical coal. So there's a bunch of different recipes. This is how you get Mobius fuel. This is how you get Aeternalis fuel. You can see it's pretty expensive. This is also the way that you get alchemical chests. So 8 verdant dust and a chest will go ahead and infuse and create an alchemical chest. And you can do the same for an alchemical chest that's green, the medium size, and the red one that's the large size. And these chests are all pretty cool, and those of you who have played the mod before probably recognize them just a bit. The small, the medium, and the large. Nice. Now, a very important thing that you're going to want to do in the aludel is get yourself a tome of alchemical knowledge. This is required to proceed in the mod. And you're going to need to get yourself some minium dust, which remember, to get minium dust, you're going to need to calcinate something that is greater than 8192. I recommend just using a diamond. That's probably your best bet. So you drop 1 diamond in here, and that's going to break down that diamond and wind up getting you 1 piece of that dust. Cool? We can use that dust to infuse a book, as we just saw. And by the way, shift clicking in most things should work, and it'll place things in the appropriate slot. So you'll notice when I shift clicked the book and the minium dust, it went into the right slot. For example, if I did the minium dust first, it would go there, and then the book goes in the top. So Pahimar did a good job of making sure shift clicking is supported in almost all areas. Once the infusion is complete, you'll find yourself with a Tome of Alchemical Knowledge. Cool. What can we do with this? Well, first you're going to want to right-click it to yourself, and that will bind it to the player. Cool. Now it says that it belongs to Direwolf 20. This is my documentation of all the alchemical knowledge that I've gained. Let's see how it works. So to access the knowledge in the book, of which there is currently none, simply right-click. This will show you all the transmutations which you have currently discovered. Now, it's not hard to discover transmutations. Don't worry about it. It's really actually pretty easy. All you need to do is get yourself a research station. And this is simply a couple pieces of iron, wood, and stone. Nice. So the research station is where you can discover the components of items and teach the book different things. So simply shift-click your book in, and you'll notice that it goes on the right-hand side. There are no recipes here. All you need to do is drop an item in. And what it's going to do is it's going to break down that item in the research table, analyze its properties, and encode the information in the book so that you can use it later on. Now, unfortunately, this does destroy the item, but once we've done so, we now know everything we need to know about iron to be able to make it. So as you want to expand your alchemical repertoire, simply go ahead and drop some items in there, and you should have no problem expanding it. Also, by the way, this thing is eye-sighted aware, so if you want to do a bunch of items at once, you can drop a hopper in, pipe things in, whatever you want, and you should be able to learn a bunch all at once. Cool. So you can see here we're teaching it coal. And once it finishes, it's going to go ahead and throw the sticky piston in here. Good stuff. So as our book gains more and more knowledge, we have more and more options to proceed and get ourselves some pretty good alchemical knowledge. Now, how can we use this knowledge? Let's take a look. As you may recall, ash is something that you get from anything with 0 to 64 equivalent energy here. If we were to go ahead and throw some ash in there and infuse some stone with the ash, you'll discover that you're going to get yourself access to some ash-infused stone. Very cool. That's stage 1 of getting yourself a transmutation tablet. Nice. Stage 2 requires getting some chalk. Now you're going to want to go ahead and make some chalk using clay and bone meal. Okay. Now, in order to get the actual pieces of chalk that you're going to want, place it in the world and mine it with a pick, and it'll break down into the individual pieces. They do not stack, and as you can see, I currently got about 3 of them from that chalk block. We can use this chalk for a lot of cool stuff in the future, but for now, it's what we're going to use for our transmutation tablet. Let's take a look. First, let's check to see if our Tome of Alchemical Knowledge has learned everything we wanted to learn. Oh good, it has! There's all the things that I told it to learn. Keep in mind, we lost all those items. They completely got destroyed by the research station breaking them down to discover their secrets. Now, let's make ourselves a transmutation tablet. You're going to need a 3x3 structure, 1 high, of the ash-infused stone. And this is one of the basic forays into what equivalent exchange is going to be all about. This is the first of many mechanics that Pahamore plans to implement. We've got our chalk, and we can draw our alchemical circle. Press V to go ahead and expand the alchemical circle, and Shift V to shrink it down. In this case, we're going to do a 3x3 pattern, so we're going to use the middle-sized structure. We're going to draw this alchemical circle on the structure, and then we're going to Shift right-click on it. Ta-da! We just got ourselves a transmutation tablet. Cool. How do we use this thing? It's really easy. Right-click to open up the interface, and you'll notice a bunch of stuff over here on the left. Now, over here is where you're going to place items that you want to equivalently exchange into other items. However, before you do any of that, you're going to need to go ahead and place your Tome of Alchemical Knowledge in this top slot. And like I said, Shift-click should always work for this mod. So, the Tome of Alchemical Knowledge has been placed here. This gives you access to all the items that you've analyzed thus far. Dirt, for example, has an equivalent energy value of 1. So I'm going to place a piece of dirt in there. You'll notice that I can convert it to cobblestone. Boom. Now if I place cobblestone in there, I can't convert it back to dirt because I haven't learned about dirt. If we go ahead and drop our dirt into the research station here, we'll quickly learn everything we need to know about dirt so that we can convert cobblestone back to dirt. Cool. So there we go. And we'll put this guy in here. Now we have access to equivalently exchange to dirt. You'll also notice that when we place items in here, it tells us what their energy value is. For example, if I threw 8 pieces of dirt in there, you'll see that those have an energy value of 8. And I now have access to convert all 8 pieces of dirt into a wood plank. Nice. And if I were to place 4 wood planks in there, that's an energy value of 32, which matches the oak wood or the redstone. Hooray, just got some redstone. Now, if I wanted to convert it to something else, like coal, that's 32. But other items are less than 32, so how does that work? Well, when I take the piece of oak wood plank out, for example, you'll see that the energy value changes to 24. Now, there's 24 energy left inside this transmutation tablet. Don't worry, it's still going to be there. You can go ahead and leave, go off and do stuff, come back, and you'll find up that you've got 24 energy still there. And then you can pull out another oak wood plank, or you can pull out, 16 pieces of dirt. And of course, you can also shift click if you want and get the remaining 8 cobblestone. Nice. We went from 62 and 0 to 64 and 6, so we got 8 cobblestone out of that. If I want to drop a diamond in there, yeah, I could get a whole bunch of cool stuff. Let's get as many sticky pistons as we can from this diamond. Boom, I just got about 23 of them. Cool. There's still 32 energy in here, so let's grab ourselves a piece of redstone and be on our way. One other thing to show you in this interface is you can click here to sort by display name. So it's sorting, here, coal, cobblestone, diamond, right? So alphabetical. Or you can click to sort by energy value, where cobblestone being 1 is the lowest and diamond being 8,192 is the highest. Or you can sort by item ID. So, dirt, cobblestone, oak wood planks, that's item ID 3, 4, 5, right? So you can go up from there. There might be a couple other sorting options here in the future. I think Palmar said the very next thing he wants to do is a reverse sort. So you could click a button and it would reverse it so that diamond is at the top and cobblestone's at the bottom. So guys, another really cool feature of the transmutation tablet is the ability to search for items. So once you get a lot of stuff in here, you might wind up having quite a lot of items to be able to transmute into. So just start typing in here, right click clears it, and you can see that it'll filter, right? So if I type in coal, it'll show me just coal. If I type in piston, it'll just show me pistons, etc., etc. So pretty nice ability in the transmutation tablet here to be able to filter and search on exactly what you're looking to pull out of it. And one more thing I'll mention for you guys is the Tome of Alchemical Knowledge. So if you actually get a second one of those, so you've got one in here, and we've got one here. Both of these tomes will always show the same information. So you can see I can easily place one in here, snag this one, carry it around. So I can make multiple tomes for myself, and as long as it's bound to my player, it's always going to have the same information. So as you can see here, I've got only access to the following items. If I decide I want to teach this thing how to make, I don't know, ash-infused stone or regular old stone, I could go ahead and toss the tome here directly in there, and as it's reading it, we can come over here and take a look. You'll notice smooth stone currently not an option because it hasn't yet been researched. However, all I need to do is close and reopen the GUI, and we'll see that stone is now an option for us. So pretty cool ability to have one tome in the transmutation tablet and another one carried around or continually being researched. So for now, you've got access to a whole bunch of cool stuff in here. Something else you might notice is that there's about 8 slots available. So if we were to put a bunch of things in here, eventually you'll run out of space. So all total in here, we've got 63,000 EMC worth in here. We can go ahead and pull out a bunch of stuff if we wanted to, no big deal, and have a good old amount of fun. So if I were to throw a whole bunch of this in here, I could convert it to as many diamonds as possible, and then, get the items back out and snag some redstone. The other thing that's cool, by the way, is when I pull redstone out of here, notice, so I can get, what, is it 8 redstone from this, or 4? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 redstone, right? So if I were to go ahead and put those guys back, turn it back into iron, when I pull one piece of redstone out, if I were to put another piece of iron in there, as I pull out redstone, notice that it's not eating up the iron. It's going to use up the stored energy in the tablet before it eats up another item. So once we pull out that 7th piece of redstone, the next one is going to eat the iron. So stored energy always comes first instead of items that are listed up here. Now there's one slot I haven't talked about, and that's the middle slot. This is not currently implemented yet, but will be very soon. And this is where you're going to place your alchemical stone or your minium stone. So if we take a look at equivalent exchange, you'll see that there are pictures for them, right? So there's textures and whatnot, but there's no actual implementation of these items yet. So once they are implemented, though, you'll be able to place the minium stone in the center there, and I think that's how you're going to store energy in it. But I'm not 100% sure about that. So now that I've shown you pretty much everything that's currently available in Equivalent Exchange 3, let's talk about a couple of things that are coming or a work in progress. So right now you have access to the chests, and you also have access to alchemical bags. These are functioning as well. As you have access to the alchemical coal, Mobius fuel, and Eternalist fuel. So we do have access to all of those things. Currently we don't have inert stones yet. They are craftable, as are the Minium stone. The Philosopher's stone can't be crafted, but it's really a work in progress, so there's really no functionality to it yet. There's a couple other items that are in here, but most of those are labeled work in progress. They will be implemented pretty soon. Like I said at the beginning of the spotlight, Pahimar has worked really hard on the behind the scenes parts of Equivalent Exchange, so the stuff that you guys don't really see up front, making dynamic EMC as easy as possible. Think about it when you have 200 mods installed and you need to calculate the EMC values of every item that's craftable in all those mods. You might think that would take a while. When Pahimar ran it on Forgecraft, it took less than, I think, 1/10 of a second to calculate it all. So he's been working really hard to make it so that every part of this mod is extremely stable and extremely secure. He also wants to make it very easy for other mod authors to implement an EMC system in their items so that EMC can work for other mods' items. And finally, the thing I want to talk about is some future ideas that he has. So one thing is you'll be able to share transmutation knowledge by using this scroll of transmutation knowledge, or I could go ahead and give my book to someone. So if I handed this book to Soren, he could go ahead and take the book and place it in the transmutation tablet and use it, or he can use his book for whatever purposes. So if the book basically stores the knowledge, and if I give it to someone else, they can use my book and use the knowledge that's contained within my book. Pretty cool stuff. The other thing I want to talk about is the chalk. Pahimar was telling me some of the things he has planned for the chalk. He wants that thing that I just showed you in creating the transmutation tablet to be one of many future plans. He wants to go ahead and make it so that you can go ahead and have small arrays that do different things, like maybe warding monsters away, or a whole bunch of different magical effects and abilities by drawing on the grass here. There's also going to be different patterns. So right now there's only the one pattern, right? The pattern being this guy, right? And that's the transmutation alchemy array. But there's going to be other arrays available. So different shapes, different sizes, all with different effects. And you're going to be able to draw them on the ground and power them in some interesting and neat way. So lots of cool stuff planned for this chalk system where you can draw things on the ground, or I believe it also works drawing it on the wall, like so. And you'll notice that there's going to be a whole bunch of cool stuff coming along this line as well. So again, the foundation is there, but currently all you can really do with it is create the transmutation tablet. But honestly, the transmutation tablet alone is pretty awesome. Now this will be really fleshed out some more, but the basics are there. And the basics are really cool, which makes me really excited for the rest of Equivalent Exchange 3. So for now, this is Direwolf20 signing off. I really hope you guys enjoyed the spotlight. You'll notice, by the way, the Aludel, when you create things in it, you can actually see the items floating in there. That's one little detail that's pretty cool. I should also show you this with the book and the Minium dust. And you'll see that that thing works there. And also over here, as you smelt things and get Minium dust in the calcinator, it's also going to render the dust inside the calcinator. So that's just another cool little detail. So pay attention for those little subtle details that are really cool throughout this mod as you start playing it. It is available on the Curse launcher and from the website equivalent.exchange, which I'll link in the description here. But if you're using the Curse launcher, it's straight up available from there as well. So this is Direwolf20 signing off. Hope you enjoyed it. Can't wait to see more of Equivalent Exchange 3. It will be also on the new Forgecraft series that we're starting, and we'll be seeing some cool stuff coming up pretty soon from this thing. Like I said, all the basics are there, so now it's just a matter of adding the really cool toys, which, from what I can tell, Pahimar is pretty excited about. All right, guys, take it easy.